You can advance at work the hard way or the smart way. The hard way is the traditional way. It's the way that's been around forever, which is just to do a great job and to work really hard and to wait and hope and maybe not. But the smart way is to accelerate it. The smart way is to be really strategic about looking at what are the accelerators, the career accelerators, career advancement accelerators, that things that you can do, that you can put into practice, that can just get you there faster. And one of those things is your words. Words are huge. Words are like search engine optimization when you're thinking about things online, when you're thinking about websites. There are words that are detractors, words that are going to get you in trouble, and words that are maybe going to get you blocked. And then there are words that are just neutral, and then there are words that are going to get you noticed. And if we're going to apply that to the world of career advancement, it's the same way in your dialogue with people and in your words in the workplace. There are words that are going to get you noticed. There are words that are going to help you to stand out. There are words that are just going to help you to be more effective in working with people, working with colleagues, working with direct reports, working with your boss. First, if you want something, you're going to need to be persuasive, especially when what you want is something that people aren't going to really want to give you, like cutting in front of them in line or like having the last cookie. And does persuasion, that's a big word, does that mean power? Well, not overt power. It does mean power, but it's not really overt power. It's more like smart power. And people who know how to wield smart power tend to go far. Mark Cuban said, being nice is one of the most underrated skills in business. And a huge way to be nice is to show respect. And a great way to show respect is to give a reason, share information with people about why you're doing what you're doing or why you want what you want. For example, they ran a study, and it was a 3-part study about someone who wanted to step in front of other people in line for the copier at work. There's people standing in line to use that copy machine. And in the first phase of this study, the person who wanted to step in front of other people in line, or cut in line, as we would say, said, "Excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine?" Now, they got 60% of people said yes to that. Chalk that one up to courtesy. Chalk that one up to people in general want to be polite. They in general want to keep it pretty even there on the work front. But they ran a second phase of the study, and the question was, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine because I'm in a rush? And in that case, 94% of the people said yes. So in the case of persuasion, from 60% to 94%, because they gave a reason. And the reason was short, but it was because I'm in a rush. Just, they gave a reason, and it was a reasonable reason. And people said, oh, okay, well, sure, I'm actually not as much in a rush, so let that person go. It's really powerful. You become more persuasive, 30+% more persuasive, when you give people a reason. Now, they ran a third phase of the study, and this is where it gets really interesting. Because the person this time said, "Excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine because I have to make copies?" And 93% of people said yes. Just 1% less than the giving a reason that was somewhat a good reason, because this is not a good reason. This is a nonsensical reason. Everyone has to make copies. That's why we're standing in line. And to say that the reason is because I have to make copies doesn't really make sense. And yet, what it tells you is that people's brains want a reason. People's brains want a reason. So when you give a reason for what you're doing or for what you're asking, you'll be much more persuasive. Now, please use a good reason as opposed to that phase 3 where it was not a great reason. You use a reason that makes sense. But just know, any reason is going to make you much more persuasive. And when you're more persuasive, you're more promotable. Second, say you're in a meeting at work and you're talking about a problem with a group of people and you say, "What should we do?" And just with that one word, should, you just shut the whole thing down. Because what happens is when we say should, it really limits our possibilities. It says to the brain, There's just a finite set of choices here. And what the research shows is when you say, what should we do? People generally, it takes a while, and so it takes a long time, and people generally come up with two choices, two ideas of what we could do. So it becomes this either or sort of thing. Whereas if you use the word could, what could we do? You tend to get far better results. There was a Harvard study where they asked, what could we do? And they got more solutions. They got better solutions. So now you have more options. When you come up with more solutions, better options, that's going to make you more successful at work. You're more successful at work, you're more promotable. Psychology tells us that the word should makes it feel like something we have to do. And when it's something we have to do, our brain just starts shutting down. We're not into it. And so we're just going to be less creative, come up with fewer ideas. Whereas the word could, it's freer, it's lighter, it opens the mind up, takes the pressure off, and it makes it feel like it's something we get to do. It's really the difference between divergent thinking and convergent thinking. Divergent thinking, what could we do, opens up the possibilities, gets people's creative juices flowing. Whereas convergent thinking starts to shut it down. And that's important. We're going to do that, but we're not going to do it until the end of the decision-making process. We're going to start with the divergent. Let's kick up the possibilities, and then we move into the convergent. And the issue is most of us go right to the convergent thinking. Okay, everybody, what should we do? Pressure's on, and now nobody's creative juices are flowing. So if you're somebody who can lead people to think better, and the what could we do, it's going to help them to think better before you bring it to the, okay, now what will we decide on here? If you're someone who can lead people to better thinking like that, you're more promotable. Third, if you want to grow in your career, start with saying thank you. If you want your boss to be motivated to promote you, show them appreciation. Research from Harvard Medical School and Wharton show that appreciation motivates action. So when you show appreciation for someone, for them as a person or for what they've done, maybe they've done something for you, it sets up this virtuous cycle that it triggers their hypothalamus, which plays a big role in producing dopamine. The science is really strong here, and it sets up them to want to do more of this for you, more of whatever it was that kicked up that dopamine, because dopamine is the feel-good hormone. We love when dopamine gets triggered and gets released in the brain. It's about pleasure and satisfaction. It boosts people's mood. It boosts their motivation. It boosts their attention. It makes them feel great, and it encourages them to take action. So if your boss has given you an opportunity or made an introduction for you or given you a stretch assignment, maybe that gave you some visibility, you want to thank them. Thank them for opening that door for you and say how much it meant to you. Tell them why it meant that much to you. Dopamine is going to trigger in their brain and motivate them to just like you better and motivate them to want to do more of this for you. They're not even going to be aware of this, but it felt so good to them to do that thing for you, whatever they did that helped you to grow a little bit in your career, they're just going to want to do more of it. So be a thank you person, be an appreciation person, and it's going to help you to grow in your career. If you want to advance at work, you really want to think about the language you use, the words you use, and you want to choose words carefully, words that are going to cause some great triggers in other people's brains to cause you to be more persuasive, to cause people to want to help you and to do things for you. And 3 of those words that you want to think about using are the words because, the word could, and the word thank, as in thank you. Use those, and those are 3 accelerators that are going to help you to get further, faster in your career.